Gentlemen, welcome to the adjourned regular meeting of the City Council, November 10th, 1992. First item is oral communications. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the council on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and in most cases, state law will prohibit the council from making any decisions with respect to a matter not listed on the agenda.
I think there are about 10 people that want to speak. They're all here, see?
I think this is a bad omen.
They're saying petitions for recall.
No, wait a minute. This is the last meeting of
Yeah.
Same problem?
Works.
It's all right, go ahead.
Go ahead. The first item of business is the election of the mayor and oath of office.
I nominate Nick Szabo for mayor.
Second.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Would you like to take the oath of office?
Yes.
This chair is low.
Raise your right hand. We're going to do it here. There is a mic here.
Oh, okay.
Face that way, please, Nick.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to go this way then.
All right.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Nicholas Szabo,
I, Nicholas Szabo,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
Against-
foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
and without any mental reservation
and without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do. Watch out, Saddam.
The next item on the agenda is the election of the vice mayor.
I move that we nominate Marshall Goldman as mayor pro tem.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now he has to take the
Councilmember
oath.
Goldman?
Oh, I have to.
Yes, you do. Which way would you like
I
to
want to
say?
see it.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I, Marshall Goldman,
I, Marshall Goldman,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Lauralee would like to say a few words.
Okay, since I'm no longer mayor. Feels kind of good. I want to just say that this has been a very fast and interesting year. It's also been full of excitement. I never knew what challenge was going to come forth next. Among the many challenges we had were the state budget, just the many meetings that I had to go to, working with my 4 fellow council members, and the city manager and the city attorney. But in all, it's been a really interesting year. My one regret this year is that we didn't get the general plan finished. And Nick, please get it finished next year. This has been going on since we were all elected to this council, the 3 of us. Probably the greatest pleasure I've had all year has been to talk and to meet with so many of our fellow citizens in Cupertino. And I think you said this last year, we have a rather unique city, and the people in it are truly wonderful, and they're very caring. I've also enjoyed meeting with so many of the youth. I've given tours here at City Hall. I've gone to schools. I've read at Valco. I opened the Skate-Free celebration, Celebrate Life, at Valco. And our youth are really, truly wonderful. And I know that this country is going to be in good hands in the years to come. My sincere thanks to the staff, those of you that are here and even those of you who are not here. And I'd like to single out 2 of the staff who have been especially helpful to me this year and have always been there to answer my questions. And I could always look down and receive a great deal of support from them, our city manager, Don Brown, and our city attorney, Chuck Killian. You all help make us look good. And I say this for all of us up here. You're always there, and you're always at the end of the phone. And finally, thanks to my husband, who isn't here, but he went to innumerable occasions with me and was always there as a support.
Now, I would like to say a few things. First of all, I want to thank Lauralee. I think she did an outstanding job as mayor. This was a difficult year for being a mayor. There was the general plan, and I think she did outstandingly on the general plan. It's difficult to run a general plan because you have to listen to all the people, yet you can't get distracted, so it drags on forever. And I am most grateful that you almost completed it, and of course I get to sign it, but that's justice. Also, it was a difficult year because the state budget has imposed some tremendous problems on us. And I think that that was a real big distraction. It made it so much more difficult. Money isn't everything, but it sure helps. And I think that's, we really got to understand this. We had also some controversy in this city lately. The chamber was filled with not happy citizens. And I want to thank Lauralee for handling that diplomatically, and yet we got through in a reasonable time, and probably we may even made some friends as a result. And I think that that's to her credit. Before assuming the duties of the mayor, I want to also thank our staff, our whole city staff, and I think not all of you realize that this is the first year I think that staff did not get a raise. They have sacrificed for us because our budget did not allow that, and they accepted this without any complaints and with a great deal of understanding. Also, on top of that, they had to work harder than they ordinarily have to do because we had some cutbacks in the staff, and as a result, other people had to assume duties. I really hope, Don, that you will have a chance to tell the city employees that the city council appreciates them accepting the sacrifices that they did. It is particularly hard to be a civil servant in the United States in an election year. The favorite whipping boy is the government, and civil servants personify government. As a result, it is really difficult, I think, to be a civil servant in this country. And my personal observation is that it is much more difficult than in other countries. I just returned from France, and civil servants in some of the European countries are in very high esteem, and their life is also easier. Just as an example, let me cite you this, that you will almost never see in Europe single policeman anywhere. They either in twos and threes. They are much better backed up. It's much safer for them to be there. And we have to appreciate our civil servants are working harder than anywhere else that I have seen it. And I like to thank all of them for coming through for Cupertino. Now let me say a few words about the next year. I have some personal goals that I like to hope that the city can accomplish. We need a long-range financial plan so that we can realize some of the plans that we have. We have a plan for modifying Memorial Park and integrating a sports center in it. That can become only a reality if we can afford that with our financial. I think it is in the cards. We can have a long-range financial plan that will make it possible. And another example is the library. I think that if you have gone to a library lately, you will see that it is probably the busiest library in Northern California. There are people all over, and everybody is always busy. And yet, we're having cutbacks in the library. And this brings me to the next subject. In the coming year, I hope to get set up a volunteer program for the city of Cupertino. We have a lot of talent out there in the city, and there are people who are willing to volunteer. We already have a program, but I like to extend it, not to replace employees, but to supplement them, because there are other services that are required. And I hope we will be successful in that area. Another subject that I would like to make a contribution to is public information. The recent controversies had a silver lining. I got to talk to many citizens. And I really found out a lot about the city, or how the citizens view the city. I found out, for instance, that most people don't even realize what services we provide. And one of the reasons why they don't realize it, because the services work. If the sewer is plugged up, you would immediately know that the Cupertino's storm sewers are not working. But as long as everything is working fine, nobody will pay any attention to it, and it's not appreciated. I think we provide excellent services, but it's incumbent on us to educate our citizens. And I think that is a very important task. We should be proactive, as we discussed the other day with Lauralee, that the problem we are having is that we have reacted when there is controversies existed. We should, in future, get out and be proactive and say, this is a problem we have, and this is the action we will have to take, or these are the options that we can do. And that's basically an education of everybody out there. Also, I realize that the language that we use is not necessarily understandable by everybody. We kind of take it for granted. For instance, let me give you an idea, is we have these hearings on tentative maps. And if you ask the average citizen, he said, what about the tentative map? They will say, we don't want you to be tentative. We don't want to waffle. We want definite maps rather than tentative maps. I think that we have to explain what is meant by all these government functions that we provide, and explain ourselves better. And I intend to do that rather than rattling off something or putting up on the screen, next item is use permit, etc. I think we ought to explain more fully. Finally, I would like to get a little bit more recognition for Cupertino. And let me tell you, this is a long ambition of mine. We moved to Cupertino 23 years ago, and I remember it was a Monday, and we moved in and put all the boxes into the family room. And that night, I had to depart to go to New York City actually upstate New York, and for a company meeting. So I took the night plane. And as I got off on the plane and went to the next airplane in New York, we took off in this plane, and a few feet off the ground, the plane crashed. And I got shipped to the local hospital with the other survivors. Now, this is when I found out about Cupertino. The social worker came around and she said, we have to notify your family. Tell me your phone number. And I said, well, I don't know that because we just moved in. She said, well, it's no problem at all. I'll just call the police department. So about 5 minutes later, she comes back. She said, the police department has an unlisted number. And I thought, well, that spoke well for the crime rate, obviously. It wasn't very important. She said, I'm going to go back and call the fire department. So another 5 minutes later, she comes back. The fire department also has an unlisted phone number. And, as I was lying there, I said to myself, now, I must do something about this. And she said to me, are you sure there's such a city? And I decided right then and there that as soon as we unpack those boxes, I'm going to do something about it. Well, believe it or not, last night we unpacked the last box. And I'm ready to go. And ready to go to do something about it. And the first thing I want to fix about this thing is a little bit of recognition. The phone company didn't even know about Cupertino. Now, fortunately, we have Daryl Stowe is here, the president of Chamber of Commerce, and he works for the telephone company. Well, let me tell you that in the meantime, we haven't really progressed very far. Here is a telephone directory that we use. You can see inside, it will tell you that it is the phone directory of Campbell, San Jose, Santa Clara, and Saratoga. 2 of those cities are smaller cities. Cupertino isn't even mentioned in there. Back here, you see Los Gatos and Monte Sereno, all nicely called up. But you can't find Cupertino. You look on the rack in the library, and there are all these phone directories, and they say Los Altos Hills, a very small city by comparison of Cupertino. You can see it but not Cupertino. And then I looked inside, and then it lists all by each city what the prefixes are of each city. Cupertino isn't listed. Okay, but there is a map there, and there's a block, it's called San Jose 2. I think they meant San Jose also, but I'm not sure. But San Jose 2. And there in tiny 9-point letter, right next to the city of Permanente, California, the same size as Alviso, and is Cupertino in lowercase letters, while in uppercase letters it says Saratoga in bold uppercase letters. Well, I think we got to do something about it, and I really call upon the Chamber of Commerce to do something about this. Now, one thing is that they did not completely neglect us. I looked again, and there is one place Cupertino is listed very prominently. It said, the residents of the following cities should pay their bills in the following location. And there, in big, bold letters, is Cupertino, equal to size San Jose and all the other cities. I'm glad the phone company, at least as far as paying phone bills, has recognized that. Well, this situation isn't quite as bad as it is because last couple of weeks ago when we were in France, we came across a friend of my son who is French. And he said, where do you live? And I said, well, you wouldn't know. I got kind of conditioned that not even the phone company knows us. Who would know us? And I said, well, you wouldn't know. I live in a small city, 40,000 people. And he said, no, I lived in the United States. And so I said, Cupertino. Oh, he said, of course. So says, that's where Apple Computer is. And so at least, if not in this country, at least everywhere else in the world, they know where Cupertino is. And I hope we will, in 1 year, we'll make a giant step, and we will all have Cupertino boldly written on it, a little bit bigger letters than San Jose, I hope. I hope we can accomplish some of these tasks, and I'm sure Marshall, who has great plans for it, this is now your time to say what you're going to do as Cupertino's vice mayor. I held this position longer than anybody else, okay? I guess I needed the training to be mayor. And it's now all yours, Marshall.
Let's have the refreshments. I'm behind you 1,000%.
Thank you.
And that's,
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, we are therefore adjourned.